1965, I was 23 years old and was studying to become a high school language and literature teacher. An early September spring was in the air, and very, very early one morning, I was studying in my room. My house was the only apartment building in that block, and we lived on the 6th floor. I was feeling sort of lazy, and every now and then I'd let my gaze wander out of the window. From there I could see the street, and just beyond the sidewalk across the street, the manicured garden of old Don Cesario. As was his custom, old Don Cesario was watering and caring for his beloved garden, which was separated from the street level by a low iron fence and 3 stone steps. Next to Don Cesario stood the beautiful home of the Bernasconi family, lovely people who used to do nice, kind things. They had 3 daughters, and I was in love with the eldest, Adriana. So every once in a while, I cast a glance towards the sidewalk across the way, more out of a habit of heart than because I expected to see her at such an early hour. The street was deserted, so my attention was unavoidably drawn to a man who appeared in the next block and was advancing towards ours, along the same sidewalk that ran in front of the homes of Don Cesario and the Bernasconis. Shaggy and skinny, his head was covered by a yellowish, misshapen hat. Despite the heat, he was enveloped in a tattered grayish overcoat. In addition, he was carrying a huge dirty sack, and I assumed he kept in it the alms and remains of food he collected. I continued to observe. The tramp stopped in front of Don Cesario's house and asked him for something through the iron bars of the fence. Don Cesario was a mean old man with an unpleasant personality. Without acknowledging anything, he simply made a gesture with his hands, as if to send the fellow on his way. But the beggar seemed to be insisting in a low voice, and then I did hear the old man shout clearly,
"Go on, you! Get out of here! Don't bother me!"
No, sir, no! No!
Then, losing his meager patience completely, Don Cesario pushed his way with a fierce shove. The beggar slipped on the wet stone, tried unsuccessfully to grab hold of a bar, and fell violently to the ground. I heard the sharp crack of his skull as it struck the first step. Don Cesario ran down the street, bent over, and felt his chest. Frightened, the old man immediately grabbed him by the feet and dragged him on to the curb. He then went into his house and shut the door, in the certainty that there would be no witnesses to his unintentional crime. The only witness was me. Soon a man passed by, and he stopped next to the dead beggar. Then came others, and still others, and the police came too. That's all there was to it, and the matter was never spoken of again. For my part, I was very careful not to open my mouth. I probably behaved badly, but what was I going to gain from accusing the old man who had never done me any harm? And it hadn't been his intention to kill a panhandler, and didn't seem right to me that a legal proceeding should embitter the final years of his life for him. I thought the best thing would be to leave him alone with his conscience. Little by little, I gradually forgot the episode, and every time I saw Don Cesario, I experienced a strange sensation of thinking that he didn't know I was the only person in the world aware of his terrible secret. From then on, I don't know why, I avoided him, and never dared speak to him again. In 1969, I was 26 years old. I had my degree in teaching of Spanish language and literature. Adriana Bernasconi hadn't married me, but some other fellow, and who knows whether he loved or deserved her as much as I did. Very early that suffocating December morning, I was giving private grammar lessons to a few young high school boys who had to take an examination, and as usual, every now and then I would cast a melancholy glance across the street. Suddenly, my heart literally did a flip-flop, and I thought I was a victim of hallucination. Approaching along the same exact path as 4 years before was the beggar whom Don Cesario had killed. The same ragged clothes, the grayish overcoat, the misshapen hat, the filthy sack. Forgetting my students, I rushed headlong to the window. He's come back to life, I thought, and he's come to take revenge on Don Cesario. However, now treading on the old man's sidewalk, the beggar passed in front of the iron fence and continued on. Then he stopped before Adriana Bernasconi's door, pushed down the latch, and entered the house. I'll be right back, said to the students. I took the stairs down, crossed on the run, and went to Adriana's house. Her mother, who was standing by the door, said to me,
"Hello there, stranger. You here? Well, miracles never cease."
She always looked favorably on me. Actually, I came here because I saw a panhandler coming here and I thought he was going to steal something.
What? Panhandler? Stealing?
I didn't know how to ask and debated whether it would be better or not to remain silent. They then invited me into the room where Adriana and her baby were. I congratulated her, kissed her, looked at the little baby, and asked what the name was going to be. They told me Gustavo, like his father. I would have liked the name Fernando better, but said nothing. Back at home, I thought, that was the panhandler whom old Don Cesario killed. I'm sure of it. Didn't return to take revenge, though, but rather to be reincarnated as Adriana's child. Further on in years now, and feeling capable of less with each passing day, I let my attention touch lightly on a book I was reading next to the window, and then I allowed my glance to wander here and there. Adriana's son, Gustavo, was playing on the flat-roof terrace of his house. He had placed a row of empty cans on the roof, and was trying to knock them off. Most of these cans were falling in the neighboring garden of Don Cesario. And just at that moment, Don Cesario came out of his house into the garden. He truly was very old, and walked with extreme unsteadiness. At the same time, Gustavo, who didn't see the old man, kicked one of the cans, which fell with a loud racket into Don Cesario's garden. Don Cesario was startled at hearing the noise, made a sudden, risky motion, slipped wildly out of control, and shattered his skull on the first step. I saw all of this, but neither the child had seen the old man, or the old man the child. For some reason, Gustavo then abandoned the flat-roof terrace. In a few seconds, a lot of people had already gathered around Don Cesario's corpse, and it was obvious that an accidental fall had been the cause of his death. Don Cesario's wake was being held in his house. There were several persons smoking and conversing out on the sidewalk. And a bit later, out of Adriana Bernasconi's house, came the panhandler, once again with his rags, his overcoat, his misshapen hat, and his bag. He passed through the group of men and women, and slowly, gradually disappeared off into the distance, in the same direction from which he had come the first 2 times. At noon I learned, to my sorrow but not to my surprise, that Gustavo was not found in his bed that morning. The Bernasconi family initiated a desperate search, which with stubborn hope has continued to present day. I never had the heart to tell him to give it up.
Take one.
Swap.
Oh shit, that's funny.
27, take 1.
Panhandler? To steal?
Yeah. Scene 27, take 2.
Do it. I was picturing myself.
Scene 27, take 3.
Panhandler? To steal?
You have to look surprised. Scene 27, take 4.
Panhandler?
Don't look at the camera, you tart. Scene 27, take 5.
Panhandler? To steal?
Scene 27, take 6.
What? Panhandler? Stealing?
That was good.
Wait,
Take 1. Scene 24, take 2. Scene 24. Scene 24, take 3.
Wait.
Scene 25, take 1.
Well, hello there, stranger.
Stop laughing. I could have done it if you didn't.
Scene 25, take 2.
I should have stroked you before.
Rory's like,
No, I was like. Okay.
Scene 25, take 3.
Well, hello there, stranger.
What?
Scene 25, take 4.
Well, hello there, stranger. You here? Will miracles never cease?
Scene 25, take 5.
Hello there, stranger. You here?